With us now from Punchbowl News, senior congressional reporter Andrew Desiderio. Andrew, they're angry at Republicans. That in and of itself is a fascinating line, but they're not angry at me. Equally fascinating, and also, by the way, judging by his approval ratings, not true. So what do you think about that statement?
Yeah. Well, look, my colleague Jake Sherman, you heard him there, ask the president why he thinks that, and the president said he doesn't know. The president is contributing to that sense, right? I mean, the ways in which he goes after John Thune, for example, and Senate Republicans for example, not getting rid of the filibuster or not passing the Save America Act. You know, Senator John Cornyn, who obviously the president helped oust in his primary by endorsing a primary challenger to him, has said recently that the president and many of his fellow Republican senators are actively demoralizing the Republican base by making it seem like Republicans can pass things like the Save America Act, right? Even though they all know that it's not possible because of the filibuster and because Republicans simply do not have the votes to get rid of the filibuster, right? So naturally, that leads Republican voters, the MAGA base, if you will, to get pretty demoralized and upset with Republicans in Congress and have this sentiment that they're not doing enough, that they're not carrying out the will of the mandate of President Trump. And with him not on the ballot, that makes it even worse. So I found it quite ironic that the president said that, but then said he doesn't know the reason why.
Right, exactly. Notable, he sort of dodged a question about whether he would support John Thune to lead Republicans in the Senate during the next Congress. And then he also gave, I think, again, something I haven't heard before, a notable answer on what it would be like to work with Hakeem Jeffries if he became Speaker of the House. Listen.
I think he's a nice guy. I mean, I did. He was here.
Yeah.
We had a good meeting. It was, look.
He's harsh on you. He says,
Well, he's harsh because I'm harsh on him. I'm sure he wouldn't be so harsh. I've said bad things about him.
Could you do business with him, you think?
Yeah, I think so. Look, the people harsh on me, I'm harsh on them. It's part of the world. You cover it very well. You cover specifically Congress. You see a strange group of people. But I'd probably get along with them very well.
What do you think about that? Again, it's just not the type of language that you might have expected about the person who's going to lead the Democrats, who does right now in the House, but could be the Speaker soon.
Well, he's right about the strange group of people remark, I will say, from personal experience. But look, you saw how the president worked with Nancy Pelosi, for example, when she was Speaker of the House during the last 2 years of his first presidency. And they did not work well together at all, obviously. They were at odds over everything. They impeached him twice, right? There's going to be a push from progressives in particular in the House next year if they do regain power to impeach the president for a third time. And Hakeem Jeffries is going to have to deal with those internal challenges as well as confronting the president on all of this. And frankly, look, he's going to have to work with the president on funding the government, the very basics, right? So you can kind of separate out those two things, fighting the president on some things, or on most things, and then working together on other things. But as we've seen throughout this Congress and in a Republican trifecta, Democrats have still, egged on by their voters and the progressive base, they've still wanted their leadership to fight. And that's what we're seeing in these primaries throughout the country where progressives are winning out.
I will say, if I'm trying to get Republicans elected to Congress, I do not think I would like sound of the president saying that voters are angry at Republicans and I can work with Hakeem Jeffries. Those might not be the campaign messages Republicans running for Congress were hoping for this morning. Andrew Desiderio, great to see you. Our compliments to you and Jake Sherman for a really news-making interview. Appreciate it.